Hello. I am Benny.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is the podcast where one of us introduces a topic. The other person does not know what the topic is. We're hoping that it inspires you, challenges you, makes it so you have a better week. We just want you to be able to take something away and have a good week.
Yes.
So before we get to that, though, how are you?
I'm good. It was a busy week.
How so?
Well, I'm still working on reunion stuff. I babysat. We had a busy weekend because we did hang out with each other again for Jonathan's birthday at the park. I babysat for Coley all day yesterday and played with my Marley, which was so fun. And she makes fun of my sneeze. It was so funny because I sneezed a few times because my allergies are a little bit bad right now. And every time I sneeze, she go, hee! And it was just so cute how she, well, and you probably don't know what my sneeze is like. One day I'll sneeze for you guys. But
oh, thank you. That's great.
But yeah, and it was Teacher Appreciation Week. And so just every day was just got lots of fun sweets, treats, flowers, great cards. It was just been a really busy but good week.
So I think it's funny because I was thinking about a little anecdote for right now, and I thought, oh my goodness, we hung out again as a family, and I thought it's amazing that we kind of do hang out as a family. I mean, I don't know how, I guess I don't know any other family. This is the only family I know. So maybe everybody hangs out that much, but it was kind of funny that I was like, oh my goodness, we hung out two
together.
Weekends in a row and did a bunch of stuff. And I thought it was, this is going to be a story about kind of the direction we're going to go today. But what was interesting is, and Patty's not going to like to hear this, but our water heater broke again. So we have one of those tankless. So it's quote unquote never ending hot water, and ours is never ever hot water really. So,
oh gosh.
So it doesn't.
That would drive me crazy because I am all about the hot water. In fact, Peter will go and rinse something off in the kitchen and he's just like, oh my gosh, because I everything has to be hot water, even my showers.
Yeah, so we don't have any. And and so I had to, and I had Trinity had washed him?
Yeah.
Bathed him.
Oh, either way.
Okay.
It's a dog.
So cleaned the dog, yeah. And she said, hey, there was no hot water, and I was like, oh, that's happened before, but usually I can do one or two tricks, but I didn't even think about it. I didn't worry about it. I went and worked out, came upstairs, and then I tried to jump in the shower and it never turned on. So I had to jump in a cold shower.
Oh my gosh. I like to rinse with cold water, but I do not want to do my whole shower in cold water.
Well, it was interesting, but I don't want to go too far into it because it's actually going to be part of the direction we're going to go.
Oh, good. I love to talk about water.
So do you know, so the direction we're going to go today is I wanted to talk with you about gratitude. And what your view, like what do you think when I even just say the word gratitude? What does that mean to you?
To me, it means being grateful for things that you already have in place, that you already enjoy, not necessarily that's what I think of right away, just being grateful grateful and gratitude, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I think about right away when you say being, having gratitude. I just feel like being grateful for things that you have right at the moment, not wishing for more, not, just like every day waking up and I'm grateful that my back doesn't hurt, that kind of stuff.
What, you know, what's interesting is, and so this goes into my water story, is something that I've been doing for about actually I don't know how long, maybe it's 2-3 weeks, but I read some stuff, and you know about the ice baths. Like everybody's talking about ice baths, and that's not an option for me. Like practically,
Dustin
literally
used to do that all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he used to do cross country.
Oh my goodness.
He would come home and fill the tub with ice.
Well, we were supposed to do it when I played football and stuff, and I never did. And when we lived in Ecuador, there was a place, there were hot water springs, and then you could walk into the cold water and then go out, and every once in a while I'd run through it. But the idea of bathing in it, but now it's like a thing. I mean, everybody kind of does it. Well, I thought, I wonder if there's any advantageous thing to bathing, like in cold showers. And so I decided that I'm going to start bathing in kind of cold showers. So
wait, bathing in cold showers?
Not bathing, showering, cleaning my, showering.
Okay, with cold water.
With cold water.
Okay.
And so I said I'm going to shower in cold water, and so but I would cheat kind of, because what I would do is I would start off in hot, and then I would and then as soon as I got hot, then I would kind of turn it down into pretty cold water. And at the very end, I would turn off the hot water and, get that when you feel like you're hyperventilating for a second. And I kept on doing that, and I try to do it a little bit more cold water every single time. But this is over several weeks now. I still haven't gotten to completely cold shower. But then it was just kind of funny, because it was like today, I didn't have a choice.
Right.
This is like a cold shower. And I just thought, there's two things I thought about gratitude, right? One is I thought, I could be really pissed that there's no hot water. Or I could say, here's an opportunity to finally do what you said you were going to do a month ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And then the other thing is, it wasn't as shocking to me as I thought, because I have been taking already cold showers.
Right.
So it was kind of a cool thing for me to experience a little bit of, what that was going to be like. But so now I have another question for you regarding gratitude. What is your, people talk about having an attitude of gratitude. What is your thought on that phrase?
I'm not sure I understand.
Siri doesn't know whether Siri doesn't have any idea.
Attitude of gratitude. I'm the half glass full girl, not a half glass empty. You know what I mean? And I always feel like if your glass is empty, you can refill it. So an attitude of gratitude, I feel like, I personally feel like I want to have all the time. I want to have the attitude of gratitude. Obviously, there's going to be days where you're not always feeling that way,
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, getting to the water thing. Our water, they were working on our water on our street one day, and I had just dyed my hair, and they turned our water off. And then, long story short, the water company ended up bringing us gallons of water, because I called and said, oh my gosh, when is it coming back on? And they go, oh, a few hours. I'm like, I literally just put dye in my hair. I got to get this out. So they brought us over gallons of water so that I could do this. It was so sweet that they did that. But that said, I'm pouring this cold water over me in the shower. And I did not have an attitude of gratitude. I was very thankful that they did that, but I was super But I think in general, I think that I try to be grateful every day on a daily basis and that's when I started doing, I think we talked about this maybe last podcast or the one before. Like, I like to wake up and immediately be grateful for 2 or 3 things I tell myself. So what do you think? Like, what is your thought on the attitude of gratitude?
Well, the thing that I find interesting about an attitude of gratitude is I hear a lot of people talk about having an attitude of gratitude, but they have no practice of gratitude. So they don't do anything in the practical to express gratitude. They don't do something. So you just said, every morning I try to be grateful for something. I try to actually be grateful for something. And I think what happens for a lot of people is that, you have an attitude of gratitude, but if you're not practicing it in some way, shape, or form, ultimately that attitude, might not end up being anything in your life.
That's a really good point.
So we want to actually have some kind of practice that you're doing. At least in my mind, having that kind of practice all of a sudden changes your whole mindset. It changes the way you think.
Sure.
It changes the way you view the world. It changes the lens that you have, because everything that you see now becomes different if you have a practice of always being grateful.
And that's why I do like to wake up. I started doing this in my mind, and then I started jotting it down in my notes on my phone, because I was waking up and so I would be like, oh my gosh, my neck hurts, or I slept wrong or whatever, and then I was like kind of down on myself for talking Like, you know, it
Kind
seemed
of-
like every morning, like, oh, then my foot hurts. Oh, that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to flip the script. So instead of doing that, even if I had a kink in my neck, I'm like, I am so thankful my back isn't hurting today, or stuff like that. And that's how it first started. It would just be in my mind, like, I'm going to just flip the script in the morning and start on a positive note. And then I started thinking, okay, I want to be grateful for many things. Every morning, I'm going to open up my notes, and then I would just write 2 or 3 things down and then get ready to go to the gym. And that's how I would start it. Because I really honestly did not want to be, or if I was like allergy that morning, you know, I didn't want to be like, oh, my allergies are driving me crazy.
Right.
Like, just, it did drive me crazy, but I also wanted to like be thankful for something else that.
No, it's really good because so it's journaling. What you're talking about. I mean, there's different kinds of journaling,
Sure.
right? But that's basically a form of journaling, but it's an act. I read this quote. Excuse me. I heard this quote. No, I read it. Yes, I'm going to read it now too. It says, "An attitude is a way of thinking. A practice is a way of doing, trying, failing, and trying again." And so what's interesting is that if people that say that, you know, I have an attitude of gratitude, that's part of your thought process, but it's not really becoming part of who you are until you actually do
Implement
something.
it,
Yeah. Because you can think about a lot of different things that don't, if you're not doing anything about it, it doesn't matter that you're thinking. You can think all day about working out. If you don't go work out,
Right.
it doesn't make a difference. So, yeah, I know for me, something that happened, so I'm sure I'll talk in more detail one day about this, but on the podcast. But I call a guy every single day. There's a guy I call every single day, and we basically discuss things in our lives. And one of the things that we always share is a gratitude, and it has to be a gratitude from the previous day.
Oh.
So it can't just you can't just be grateful
For the sun shining.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe you are that day. Maybe
Sure.
that's really particularly special. Or,
Especially with all the rain we've had.
yeah, exactly. Or the heat. The heat. Actually,
Yeah.
I think he actually just said that. I love this weather right now. That was his today.
Yeah.
But so it could be whatever. I mean, there's a number of different things. But what I find fascinating about when you start making it a practice instead of just a thought, I find things to be grateful for that before I never even thought about.
Or even just like you took for granted or something.
Yeah, you just totally take it for granted.
Like
But
hot water.
when you're actually thinking about things, all of a sudden you can find so many more things to be grateful for
Totally.
that you might have omitted if you hadn't done that. And because it's interesting for me because I think like you kind of, it would be typical to wake up in the morning. It would be typical to just, there's so many things that happen in a day. It's really not that hard to find negative stuff.
Yeah.
The way people drive,
Right.
whoever attended you at
Right.
at the grocery store, whatever, an irritating noise like a gardener going through when you're trying to do a podcast. But you can have all of these different
You're
things.
grateful you don't have to mow the lawn.
Yes, exactly. But what's funny is that it's so easy to get. It's so easy
Wrapped
to find
up
the
in all of
negative.
it,
Yeah, it's so easy to find all that kind of stuff. But when you start practicing something and you start doing it, it's not even like I'm looking for these things because I need something to tell him tomorrow.
Sure.
It's just I have a different mindset toward those things. Towards
Well, and
life.
like even with for example, let's just say this past week actually, I woke up, I did something with my foot in bed, and it stressed my calf muscle out, and it was so cramped up I had to get up and I had to walk and I had to pull my toes back. I was doing all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I finally started to get up and walk, once I woke up and I started to walk, it was so painful. Like it was so sore, as if I had worked it out or something. So I was very sad, but I took the morning off working out because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this box jumps and running and this and that, what I knew we were having coming up in the workout. And so I was kind of bummed. But then I sat with my dog with coffee in my hand, turned on a stupid Lifetime movie and said, you know what? I'm so grateful for this moment. Like this was my excuse, if you will, to not go work out. And I had to just be okay with it because many, many years ago, I'd be down on myself for not working out that day or something. So I had to again, flip the script and just go, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do right now and just be.
So another thing that's interesting about gratitude is that talk with people in coaching, in the stuff that I do, and it's interesting to me how I can be with people, and I could tell the people that are living in gratitude, and I could tell the people that are not. And I don't know if I'm going to say that they're negative per se, but I will say there are people that it seems like they can find the gray sky in everything that goes on. It just does not matter what's going on. They can find the problem, they can find the issue, and instead of, and it's interesting to me. So at Amazon, when I was working at Amazon at this one warehouse, this guy came up to me, and I thought it was really funny because he was having a really crappy day. Like he was really kind of, he was pissed off at the world. I can't remember all the details. And I didn't know him all that well, but I knew him well enough. And he actually said to me, I have no idea why. I guess I have this impression, people have this impression that I'm happy. I guess that's good. Because he goes, Benny, I need your help. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've never had it. I thought it was going to be something related to the job. He goes, I'm having a crappy day. I don't think it's a word to use. And then he said, what can I do? Literally, that's what he said. And I just said, what are you grateful for? And it was fascinating because I was like thinking he was going to think, you're such a douche.
Yeah.
Seriously, that he was going to just like go,
well, forget it. You're not helping me.
You're not helping me. Give me to some kind of website that's going to, make me happy. And I was like, and I said, and then I kind of like left him. And then he came back to me later on. He goes, man, that was awesome. That totally changed my mind on whatever. And I just thought, man, if this dude, who was not the glimmer of sunshine every single time you saw him, if he could just start thinking that way, and all of a sudden it changes everything about the way he viewed the day. I thought, well, what an impact that makes on so many, on people in general. Yeah. And I know when I was not practicing this on a regular basis, and I was really focused on work and really focused on success and really focused on growing what I was doing, and really, it's constantly focused, and I was constantly thinking there's got to be a little bit more. There's got to be a way to make this better. There's got to be, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that drive, but because I wasn't living in gratitude, though, you kind of, it affects your mindset, because every single thing that I was doing was never enough. It was never enough, and we can never just I can never live in the moment, enjoy the moment, enjoy my family. It was constantly about what is coming up instead of what can I enjoy right now.
And that quote, I have a coffee mug that says, life is a journey, not a destination.
Oh, I love that. I just said that to somebody.
Yeah.
Oh,
so really?
Funny. Yes.
Yeah. It was my favorite quote. And I think Kylie or Nicole, one of them, bought me the coffee mug because they knew I always used to say that. So, but it's true.
You used to say that?
Always.
Oh.
Ask my kids. It's funny because every time
I don't believe you. Can we get them on the phone? Ask my kids.
I did. And one of them bought me the coffee mug. I think it was probably 10 Christmases ago or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I love that. And because I was just talking, there was a situation with a guy who was working with me, and long story short, he said, no, I can't work with you anymore. And it was interesting because I just thought, well, whatever. I honestly thought, it's up to him if he wants to do that. I'm going to make a very long story short and say he ended up coming back, and I said that to him. I actually said, hey, it's way more about the journey than it is about the destination. And as long as you're only focused on the destination, for one, you're probably not going to be satisfied once you arrive. And then number two is you're going to miss out on everything that you're supposed to be learning right now in the midst of what you're doing.
Well, and also we got to remember there is a lot of, forks in the road. So your destination isn't a clear path. So we got to be okay with, making that U-turn or the left turn or whatever. So.
Making whatever change that's going to happen. Because if you're focused so much on that, that's another thing that potentially can happen to you. And so one of the things that is, to me, a great saying is expectations are resentments under construction. expectations are resentments under construction. So if you think about that in relation to what you just said about the destination, see, if you're so focused on the destination, that's your expectation. When it doesn't happen, that's when kind of resentment can settle in.
Yeah.
And so it's not even just about it's not even just about your let's say your job, but it's about a relationship. It could be as simple as, I expect my wife to make dinner and she didn't. And so,
then you're,
and
yes.
So now I'm going to be...
Well, and I know this might be off topic and maybe another podcast, but there's often times that I will, the expectation of like thinking Peter is going to want to go do the dishes for me and he's going to see that they're there.
Yeah.
Where he's super good at, if I say, can you get those dishes done? He's like, yeah, or can I cut? Even if he walks in, sometimes it's funny because he'll walk in and say, can I help you with something? And I'll say, no, it's okay. But in my mind, I'm like, well, you can see you could do that. Why can't you just do it? Do I have to tell you to do it? But he doesn't think like, it's like, it's the expectation, But the minute I say, well, do you mind chopping those tomatoes? He's like, of course. And then he just starts chopping, And so, but you're right. If you have those expectations, you start building up a resentment for sure. And it's like, that's not his fault. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, that is another podcast. Because you're talking, because in that case, we're talking about when we don't express what we desire, and then we're holding the other person accountable for what we have not shared.
Yes, exactly.
That's a problem.
Like, can't you read my mind?
But the thing that's interesting is that I think all of us do, or I shouldn't say all of us do, but often we have an expectation of what's going to happen, and when we kind of live in that expectation, we can find ourselves resentful to God, to whoever it is that's blocking the goal. And the next thing you know, instead of being grateful for the journey and what we're experiencing and all that, instead of being grateful for those things, we're really focused in on
for sure
what we did not get. I thought there was this great, so I read this book. It's called The Choice. It's I hope I say her name right. I think her name is Edith Unger. But what's interesting is she is a Holocaust survivor. And this is like, man, this is like really taking a turn. I'm sorry. But I thought this was fascinating because she goes, you make a choice as to whether or not you want to see everything in a negative way or if you want to see things in a good way. And her and her sister, they lost their parents in the Holocaust, and her and her sister, though, ended up being together. And this is just fascinating. It'll actually make me cry because I cry at everything. They had to get their heads shaved and all that stuff. And Edith said to her sister, your eyes are so much more beautiful without your hair in your eye, in front of your eyes. Right. This is a woman who knows exactly what her fate is. It ended up not being her fate in terms of death, but it was a horrible experience. And but she was expressing something that, I mean, who can do that? Right. What kind of mindset is it that you can see the good in a horrific situation?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's definitely being grateful to another level.
A totally different level. It's a totally different level. But what I'm fascinated by is that I think that when you start to go beyond the attitude of gratitude and you have a practice of gratitude and you're doing things, you're journaling, you're talking to someone about it. I've heard of people who at the dinner table, they have everybody share one thing that they're grateful for. And it could be very simple. It's not about being profound. It's just about trying to recognize what you're grateful for that day.
Well, didn't Mom do that with us? I feel like I remember sitting at the table in that little kitchen and her saying, tell me one good thing that happened today.
I don't,
each one of us
I don't know that it happened every day, but I do remember her doing that. She did
yeah.
that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Well, our mom wanted to always hear from us. Maybe she just let
But that's a really good practice. Like, even, you know, if you're not going to journal, even just sharing with your spouse or your kids or whatever, like what, you know.
Yeah, because I don't think it has to necessarily be written down. Some people do not like writing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is to it. But it can't simply be, okay, I'm going to have an attitude of gratitude. It has to be something that you're doing and you're implementing it on a daily basis. Like you said, you didn't do it necessarily on purpose in the beginning, but it was like, I'm not going to just focus on these aches and pains or whatever. I'm going to focus in on okay,
Right.
well, how can I change my mindset toward this day? Well, one
Right.
of the things is, instead of focusing on the crap that's going on, focus on something good.
Yeah.
And something that's going to make a difference. And so I think that's the key to this whole thing, is really
And I
saying
think
that.
once you start getting those negative thoughts that are, because you break a habit, you know what I mean? If like you're constantly just thinking what is going wrong, what's not going right, it just weighs on you, you know? And I mean, I'm not perfect. And there's been many times that I've, named a few things that are going wrong or how I'm feeling or whatever. And even Peter, because he knows I'm a very positive person for the most part, he will look at me and go, wow, this is not like you, or whatever. And I do have to flip it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be like this. You have to be intentional. So I think that's what you're saying. Like, the attitude of gratitude is different than being intentional with it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and then what's interesting to me is, have you ever wanted to buy a particular car?
Have I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My Acura TL.
Okay. And so have you noticed that once you make a decision that you want that car, that's the only car that you see on
Yes.
the road?
That's very true.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it works the same way with gratitude, that if all of a sudden you start to say, I am going to focus in on what I'm grateful for, the next thing you know, and this is this Edith woman, this is you waking up in the morning, but this is that idea of, I can honestly say, I don't see the negative as much as I used to.
Yes.
Now that I
Exactly.
practice
Yes.
gratitude. It's like I just don't even see it. It's not that I'm immune to it.
Right.
I likewise am far from perfect, but because I'm practicing this, and I didn't even notice it. This is another thing that's interesting. I didn't choose this mindset. It's not like I was saying to myself, okay, I'm going to do this practice because ultimately I don't want to ever think about negative things anymore.
No,
It's like,
it consumes it. It's kind of like the food thing. We're going to go on food for 2 seconds. Like, I always tell people, introduce one healthy thing, right?
Oh, right.
Well, once you introduce one healthy thing, eventually one bad thing kind of just falls to the wayside, because you're okay, now introduce 2 things. And now you're like, okay, well, now I'm not really hungry for that bad thing because I've introduced these 2 healthy things, that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's not like I'm going to get rid of, because many people have said to me, well, I can't get rid of this yet. I don't want to get rid of this yet. And it's like, just introduce the good stuff. The bad stuff will eventually just, fall off. And then they don't even notice that they're not eating as much bad stuff. So I think that applies.
It totally does. And so what's interesting is I just saw something on Instagram where you might have seen it. It's water, and then it's a bunch of dirty crud that they put inside there. And then they said, if you want to get rid of the crud, some people try to get rid of the crud, and they focus on getting rid of the crud, and they say, I got to get rid of this stuff
water.
out of my life. And then what they're saying is, no, you just keep pouring good stuff, and all that stuff just comes over and just leaves.
Right.
And it's fascinating because honestly, when I all of a sudden one day I started realizing I just have a different way of viewing the world right now. And I wouldn't say that I was particularly negative in the past, but I'm a different person now. I'm a very different person than I was. And I'm just grateful for where I am, and I'm grateful for this practice. So. So,
Same.
do you have any last
Same.
thing you want to say about?
Well, I will just say this. I am grateful that we decided to do this. I don't know where it's going to go, but honestly, I feel a lot of gratitude that we are connecting and doing this together.
I know. I
It's
actually
very cool.
like it beyond the fact that it's just it's a really good outlet for me, because I used to do this all the time, but it's a great outlet. It's a great way to share. I love the fact that I'm doing it with my sister.
Yeah,
It's fun that we get to connect.
Yeah.
And so that's very cool. And so I just really am grateful that we get to do it. What we have not done in the last 2 podcasts, but we decided we're going to do now is we want to leave you guys with something. So the only thing I'm going to say to you is, anybody that's listening or watching, the 4 people, you can feel free to email us. But what I'm going to say is, hey, choose some kind of practice that you're going to do, that you're going to express your gratitude. So whether that be talk to a friend, whether that be writing it down, I don't know, it could be you're going to post something up in your room and you're going to actually quote that saying. It doesn't matter what it is, but that you're going to you're going to put some kind of practice in your life. And like Valerie just said, you don't have to make it a big grandiose thing that you do.
No, maybe at the dinner table, just share what was good today. What happened good today?
At the dinner table, maybe with a friend at work, so that if you live alone. So whatever you can do, I just want to encourage you to find some kind of practice of gratitude.
Yeah, I like it.
Hey, and if you have liked this podcast, we want to encourage you to subscribe to it, comment about it.
Smash the like button. Isn't that what people say?
I don't know who the people are, but okay, smash it. And then subscribe to it, maybe send it to a friend. But we're grateful that you're listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Have a good week.
Have a great week.